BlackCloak provides concierge cybersecurity protection to corporate executives and high net worth individuals to protect against hacking, reputational loss, financial loss, and the impacts of a corporate data breach. Learn more at blackcloak.io.
All right, here we go. Still from Italy. It's not my usual office in LA, but that's the beauty of what I do. I can have great conversations with a lot of people, and I don't need to be together with them. Although I have to say, my guest, I think I was close enough a couple of weeks ago because I was actually in Sweden. I was in Stockholm, and that's where he's connecting with us. His name is Mats Larsson, and we're going to talk about one of the few books that he wrote throughout the years. And this one in particular, as you know, I'm really interested in the future and how we're going to get there, and technology that is going to bring us there. If it's technology that drives society, society that drives technology, clearly I believe that it's a little bit of both. So we'll see what Mats think about that, and we'll dive in. So Mats, welcome to the show. Very honored to have you on.
Thank you very much.
So let's start with you, and then we'll put the futurist hat on, and we're going to talk about the things that you experience, the thing that is your career, and the things that you like to talk about. So, but first of all, who is Mats?
Well, I'm a business consultant since 30 years, and I've been working with business strategy in a very diverse range of industries. I've been working as a project manager for IT system implementations and change management projects in big companies, but also in a large number of small companies. So I have a very diverse type of experience from various business settings.
Very cool. But it sounds to me that you're focusing, at least on this book and other books that you wrote before, into mobility and electric mobility.
Yes,
but I guess you also look at it from many different angles. So we're gonna have a nice view on how things work. And I have to start with one thing that really stood out for me, which is how we're going to build the future. And I saw the note that say, first of all, we need to admit that we do not know exactly how to build the future, and then we need to start building it. So I guess it's kind of like the haha moment that we don't really know, and that makes sense to me from a philosophical perspective. But why did you highlight that in kind of like the synopsis of the book?
Well, we have certain methods that have been used before to develop new technologies, to implement them, and to see them grow on a large scale. And we've used various tools in various situations as countries. I write a lot about the Apollo program and the development of computers and development of the internet. And it's in those projects and programs there were years and years of large-scale investments and large-scale financing by the US government. And that was necessary because these technologies, they didn't exist when the US government realized we need computers, we need an internet, we need an ARPANET, as it was first called, the technology. We need to go to the moon. And John F. Kennedy said, I'll challenge the nation to send a man to the moon and bring him safely back to Earth, and all that. And these programs initiated large-scale technology development in those areas, and they were necessary. Without them, we wouldn't have space technology today. We wouldn't have had the computers in the form that we do have now. We might have had computers, but they wouldn't have been as advanced if the US government hadn't made these huge investments in the early development. So we know that, but we've also seen market-driven technology development, primarily in later stages of technology, when the technologies have started to mature, like when computers became inexpensive enough for people to buy them, or for large companies to buy them. They started to drive technology development and drive the implementation of these technologies through market-based investments. But governments have been there at the forefront or in the background for a long time throughout these development processes and implementation processes. So we know that many things about how we've done this in the past, but we don't know exactly how it needs to be done. In the case of electric vehicles, for example, there will be a need for large-scale government financing, because electric vehicles aren't at present competitive against petrol and diesel vehicles. But we don't know exactly how to do this, like how much will governments need to spend, in which areas do they need to engage, and how much can the market take care of, because these analyses haven't been done yet. So there will be a need for like project management in the way that NASA gradually learned how to build rockets and how to improve them, and the way that American government departments, the Department of Defense, the Army, and so on, they drove the development of computers, and they learned along the way. So this learning process is really important, and it needs to be emphasized that we don't know exactly, but we need to learn, and different organizations need to engage, and we need to learn, and we need to adapt to the experiences we make.
No, that's a great point. I'm actually a very big fan of NASA in general. I've read many books on the Apollo project and the whole race to space. So one of my thoughts when you're describing this is how not only the government itself is necessary. I mean, the investment in the Apollo program and the Mercury problem were, I mean, enormous. Even the space shuttle program itself that allowed to then do many things to the International Space Station and the Hubble telescope and all of that. So on one side, there is that. But on the other side, I always think, especially for the Apollo program and the Mercury, the competition with a challenger. So that, seeing the Sputnik in the space and the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin, it was definitely a big motivation for the United States to put all this money there. So how do you see the competition? Because that's kind of my opinion. Look at, you're saying you need the market to compete with itself, and you need a big effort from government or governments. So
yeah, competition is really very important, and competition may be present in different ways, like one country competing against another, or companies in a country competing against each other. It's not, I mean, government financing is not about financing the growth of one single company and promoting and giving a lot of money to them in order to make them grow.
To one company. That's not good.
No, exactly. It's about getting entire industries to develop and grow, like the space industry or the computer industry. In the cases we've already discussed, to see a number of companies with different types of specialties and competing against each other, competing for government contracts, and competing for positions in supply chains, and well, carving out their niches, and developing their unique competitive advantages in different ways. That's a really important aspect of this development. And that's where, if I may say so, these American programs differ so much from European development programs, where this entire industrial framework to a large extent is lacking, and projects are run in the EU programs at present. There are a lot of three-year projects that are run, and they form sorry
Yeah, take your time.
They form well, partners form partnerships to solve certain problems, and they work together for 3 years, and then the project finishes, and the partnership well, the partnership ends, and there's nothing to continue, and there's no industry being built, and there are no long-term solutions. People work together for a couple of years, or companies work together for a couple of years, and then they just the entire project just disappears, and there may be some result, or some technologies that's been developed, or some solution that's been developed, but that's not taken care of in the way that was done in these American programs. So in order to become successful with this, I think the American model for technology development and technology implementation will need to be used rather than the current European one.
Right. So here's what I'm thinking. I had conversation with astronauts, actually people that work at NASA, and many times one of the question is that you hear is, why are we spending all this money to go to space? People don't think about all the technology, as you mentioned, that then trickles down to, we wouldn't have a lot of things if we didn't go to space, including powerful computers. So it's kind of like hard to grasp. I mean, now we're going to go back to the moon. There is this thing about going to Mars and so forth. The car, it's, I think, a little bit easier to understand, the electric car. It's, we're an environmental crisis. We can save money. Obviously, there are some countries that are not happy about that because that's what they sell. But in the interest of the world, I think it's pretty clear that we understand that. Yet, I don't think we're there yet, right? I mean, we're more understanding the technology is pretty strong. Cars are out there. Infrastructures may not be as strong. I know country like Norway and Sweden and Finland in the north and are doing very well in that. Others not so good. So there is definitely some political will. I guess my question is, if we have the technology with the car, electric car, why are we not there yet? I mean, why don't we have more share of market? And maybe why China is actually going much better than the Western world?
Yeah. Technology is developed in generations of iterations of technology development that leads to a new generation of a technology. It's not in all cases, but in some cases it is really apparent, like in mobile phone networks, like
Right.
third generation, fourth generation, fifth generation of mobile technology, and there's a standardization around each generation. But in a lot of areas, it's not been as obvious. But if we look at the computers, they were mainframe computers, really big machines that at first took up a whole room, and then they became smaller and smaller, and became, after 10, 20 years, mini computers. And well, we've seen the development continue, so that we now have smartphones and PCs that are more powerful than even the biggest mainframes 20, 25 years back. So, but also in the area of electric vehicles, there are generations of technology, and the development is driven through investment, and investment by companies, but also by governments, and by customers in various ways that use the technologies and build systems and improve the technologies. And the companies that are first, the first entrants in a market, and the first ones to develop the really successful models, like Tesla, like the Chinese, they are like 10, 15 years ahead of American and European incumbents, and Japanese incumbents as well. So, and that is because they have been working seriously with this development for a longer time. They've spent more money. They've invested more money in the development. They've invested more man hours in the development, and they have gone through more cycles of like generations, in a way, of technologies than their European counterparts, and American. The European, American, Japanese incumbents had early models of electric cars, but they didn't take the challenge really seriously. They saw it as a defensive move to show that they had something. They could show something, like the Chevrolet Volt, I think it was called, the Nissan Leaf, and so on. That were early examples, but they didn't drive this forward. And it wasn't until the first Tesla came on the market that incumbents realized that this can be something. This market can really take off.
Can be done.
So, and then they were already behind. So Tesla launched a car that could go 300, 400 kilometers on one charging, and at the time, the incumbents had car models that could do like a quarter of that distance,
right,
or a third of that distance, and so they had a lot to take in, to catch up with the Tesla and the Chinese. And we still don't see many Chinese cars in European, and I guess American roads yet, but they are there over in Asia. And if they start to become accepted in Europe and in the US, they're likely to take over a substantial share of the markets, because they are many of the car models are said to be of high quality, and they are inexpensive, and so on. And you can only achieve that, well, good and inexpensive products, by investing a lot of money. So what European and American incumbents need to do is to speed up investment, and they need to have a lot of customers demanding their products. But that's difficult because customers want, well, high quality and products that are affordable, and that provide value for money compared to what they have to pay. And in that sense, Tesla and Chinese producers seem to be ahead. So incumbents are in a really difficult situation where they need to catch up, but they don't have the market volumes necessary to make all the investments viable for them.
So, on my perspective, going electric is inevitable. Sometimes I think maybe the big mistake, and this is just my personal opinion from what I see around the world, maybe going hybrid would have been a better first step. But, thinking like, people are scared, they don't have gas, they don't have electricity to recharge, it takes too much time. At least we could have, double the mileage on a car and do something about it. But we decided to just, I guess, go all the way. Now, I heard that Toyota, for example, didn't really invest as much in full electric, and they probably believe more in hybrid. But my question for you is it really inevitable, like I think, that electric is the future? Or, I don't know, are we just following a dream? Are they major obstacles to it?
Well, we need to develop some new type of vehicle, and they need to be driven on a new type of fuel, because oil is a finite resource, and we are looking at the situation in the years ahead that where oil may we may need reach the peak in oil production, and oil volumes may start to decline. So we don't know exactly when that will happen, but at some point it will happen, and at that time it's a really good idea to have some other technology.
Another plan, a plan B.
That has started to grow. Not only like having a new technology on the back burner, it really needs to take off so that we can implement it on a large scale. So it's not only because of global warming and carbon dioxide emissions, and then the question is, do we need to go for electricity and biofuels, in different types of biofuels based on this, on grain or on cellulose? There isn't enough raw material to produce enough biofuels to fuel all vehicles. If we would replace oil by a grain-based biofuel, we would need to grow grain on 4 times the agricultural land of the planet, and then we wouldn't have any grain to eat. So all our land would go be used for growing grain for biofuels. And if we would use forests to make methanol or some other cellulose-based biofuel, we would deplete forests at a very high pace, and they wouldn't last a decade if we would use all our only cellulose-based biofuels to replace oil. So the only alternative that is really possible is electricity. And people might say hydrogen could do the job.
I was thinking that.
But hydrogen is a really electricity intensive gas. And in order to drive a car or a truck on hydrogen, we'd need twice as much electricity as we need to drive an electric car, say 1 kilometer. So the amount Elon Musk, in an interview at a conference called CodeCon 2021, he said, he responded to a question from the audience there. It's on the internet. Towards the end of that interview, and the person in the audience asked, "Will electricity become a bottleneck for the expansion or the change to electric vehicles. And he said, yeah, in order to change all vehicles, all transportation in the United States to electric, there would be a need to double power generation, and we need to invest in all parts of power grids, and that's for battery electric vehicles. So if we'd go for instead hydrogen instead, we'd have to triple power generation, or more than
Right.
triple power generation. And like doubling US power generation, you use 4,000 terawatt hours of power every year. It's the same amount per person as we do in Sweden, but in Germany they use only half, and in Italy, where you are, they use only 1/3 as much. So in the United States, in Sweden, and a few other countries, we use really a lot of power. So 4,000 terawatt hours is the amount of power generated by 360 nuclear reactors. So and like it'll be really difficult to require really big investment to build that power generation resource in the United States, or in Europe we need something like 140 nuclear reactors, or the equivalent in wind turbines or solar. So saying then, okay, we go for hydrogen instead, would require twice that amount of electricity. So it's not really realistic to suggest, I think, any other type of vehicle, any other type of fuel than electricity and battery electric vehicles.
Yeah, so I mean, we got the sun, obviously, can provide all of that easily, I guess.
Yeah.
We got the wind, we got the ocean and the hydro power. So obviously, I think that the issue, and it's the fact that, as you said at the beginning, it takes cycles of new generation technology to get there. And from what I'm understanding, from what you're saying, is the fact that while Tesla and the Chinese and other company may have been ahead of the game, we didn't invest early enough into creating the infrastructure for it. And that includes the energy creation. And I'm kind of like recapping what we've discussed so far. And that's why you say we need an Apollo program or a big intervention from government, European community, and United States and other countries to just say, all right, this is going to have to happen. So we got to funnel money in there. Am I kind of summarizing the idea for our audience and myself?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the Apollo program is an excellent example, because when President Kennedy challenged the United States to send a man to the moon, NASA realized very quickly they'd been working on the Space Task Group, had been working on these things since 1958, when President Eisenhower started the Space Task Group, and that merged into NASA. And NASA realized very quickly that it's not only about building a rocket. There's a need for a lot of different things. There's a need for a moon lander. There's a need for a space center in Houston. Eventually, they placed it in Houston. There's a need for a huge building, the vehicle assembly building, where they built the rockets. There's a need for the moon lander, as I said, and a space capsule where the astronauts could be during the journey. There's a need for a crawler to take the rocket from the vehicle assembly building over to the launch pad. there's a need for a launch pad and a launch ramp and so on. So
Yeah.
so a lot of things are needed in order to accomplish these big missions. And it's the same with electric vehicles. It's not only about batteries and cars. It's about
Right.
the entire infrastructure that will be needed to produce these huge amounts of electricity, to to get power grids that have the capacity to bring the electricity all the way from uh, power plants to where people need to charge. And regardless of where you are, uh, whether you are at the beach or whether you are in the mountains skiing, or whether you're at work or at home, you will need to have a charger nearby so you can charge your vehicle whenever you basically need it. So there's this need for uh, infrastructure, but there's also a need for a huge number of people who with the right competence to build all these things, and I call them um, electrification strategists and electrification architects. So in order to build these systems, uh, there will be a need for these type of competencies that are almost not present today yet, because people focus on, like, we need to build electric cars, we need to develop batteries, we need to develop charging posts, and we need to install them and so on. But there are very few people with the uh, knowledge of how to build these systems and how to build. Of course, there are people who know how to build power grids, but there are very few people who understand how to build power grids that can distribute enough electricity to say a logistics area in a city where like a couple of thousand vehicles come every day to load and unload, and they need to be charged on a daily basis in order for large scale to logistics to work on a large scale. So there are a lot of types of competence also that needs to be built, and alongside the development of infrastructure, cars, and so on. So there like just like in the Apollo program, there is a need for very diverse types of competencies, very diverse types of resources, and a lot of expansion way beyond what is planned at present.
Right. I want to finish this as we're hitting the time with adding one more, and I want your opinion on that. Um, one more piece to the puzzle, which, from my perspective, is also the the consumer, right? The cultural change, right? That we need to have. I don't think, honestly, that the electric car doesn't have the support that, for example, the Apollo program had. Politically speaking, I mean, people were, let's do this in the United States.
Yeah.
For the electric car, I feel like they haven't really given, yeah, a few economical incentive, but not enough reason. They didn't make it as cool as it should be, as exciting. And then maybe there is a moment where we do need all to change our habits. If it's gonna take, I mean, now you can recharge a car within 20 minutes.
Mm.
The
Yeah.
earlier car will take the all night long, right? And so what I'm saying is, yes, political will, investment in infrastructure, technology, but also we need to come together as a society. It's about society and technology, this podcast, to
Mm.
make it happen. And your cat too.
Yes.
For people listening, we just had a cat. So what is your thought on that? Do you touch that on the book, that kind of like how the consumers can make a change?
Yeah, I think so. Uh, I think an important aspect is that society is really different today compared to how it was in the 1960s or 1970s.
For sure.
There are much more going on, and many more. We've become used to new technology, and we expect it to just like being developed without us noticing, and like we
Yeah.
get new gadgets all the time, and
Yeah.
they're getting increasingly inexpensive. So, and we don't need to think about that. No one have had to uh, like drive to start a program to get smartphones. Uh, Steve Jobs
Yeah.
did that for us, and then when once he had developed it, Samsung and a number of other players came along, and they took up the competition and so on. And so, I mean, we're really spoiled with new technologies, and people expect uh, like here in Europe, the EU, they probably think that well, we just need to make a decision, and we just need to ban the sale of new petrol and diesel cars from 2035, and then everything else will fall into place along the way, and we'll have this, and we can just ban it, and we don't need to bother, and we can phase out diesel trucks, just reduce the amounts of emissions allowed, and we can find the truck makers that if they don't sell enough trucks as they have decided to do. So, but it's not that easy, because the computers and the smartphones, they've been really it's a mature technology, and they're really inexpensive, and they're really useful in many ways, and they change our lives in many ways. So, but electric cars, they don't. They say it simply do the same job as your existing gasoline car, or an electric truck. It does the same job as a diesel truck. So and there are even disadvantages. It's slightly more expensive at present. There are many things that you have to spend time charging if you're on a longer journey. You have to set aside time maybe to connect the car to a public charger in the evening if you don't have a private charger at your home, and so you need to adapt in a way your lifestyle as well to a certain degree, and these things will have to be taken care of, and governments need to engage to make this happen in different ways, and they need to realize that this is a really complex change. It will and it will require very big investments. We're talking about huge amounts of electricity, and we've only seen a little. I mean, where you are in Italy, I suppose there aren't so many electric cars yet. In most countries,
There are a
there
lot
are.
in LA, in Los
Yeah,
Angeles. There are
there
a
are
lot. You know
absolutely.
why? Because it's
Yeah,
cool. It's
yeah,
a cool thing.
right. But say overall in the US, I think you have between 1 and 2% electric cars. In Europe, we have 3% electric cars, and so and we haven't even noticed yet what it's like in terms of power demand, uh, load on the power grids, the need for chargers in order to be able to charge all cars on a regular basis. So
So
in order
I
to
have the solution.
yeah
So you put the car in the garage at night, and you'd say just upload the the new operating system, and it turns out to be electric in the morning. So, I mean, when you mentioned the phone, it kind of make me laugh in my mind because, you go to an iPhone, you just download the new operating system, and now you got, Apple Intelligence. And
Yeah.
like you said, I mean, it really made me think in that way, like, that's right. People just don't do anything anymore. You don't even need to put the CD-ROM as we used to back in the days to upgrade the software. We got
Yeah.
spoiled, I guess. That's it's just
In
something to
many
think
ways,
about.
yes. In many ways, we're really spoiled, and we really need to realize, but both people in general, but also business leaders and key leading politicians need to realize that changing a really cost-effective system of transportation to a new type of, well, more expensive initially and less developed type of transportation system is not in any way like changing or implementing smartphones or PCs.
Right.
It's really a big difference.
Yeah. Makes sense. It makes sense. And I am sure there are more points into your book, more angles that you touch. So obviously in 40 minutes, we can't touch on everything, but I think we paint a pretty good picture of what could be the issues. And I think the most important thing, as we said at the beginning, as you said, is that first we need to accept that we don't know. We don't know how to do it. So we really need to come together and say, as Kennedy said, why do we go to the Mount Everest? Because it was there. And we wanted to do it and then figure out why. And also that's how we ended up going to the moon. So I think we need to be humble and not expect, as you said, that everything just happened. Because maybe that's how used to technology we have become. We don't even know how it works.
No,
Anymore.
No, there are a lot of aspects that we need to discover.
Yep. That's for sure. Well, Mats, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. I think there's a lot of questions in people's mind right now. I hope that's my goal with this podcast, to not really give answers, but to create question thinkers, and maybe somebody that can make something happen will, and others are just going to get more informed. And of course, I will put the link to your book and to your profile, and so people can get in touch with you and learn more about the book and what you do, and your interest, and get curious about all of this. And as far as I'm concerned, there's going to be more episodes that talk about technology and society, and the other way around. So I invite everybody to stay tuned and hit subscribe. Stay with us. And Matt, thank you so much.
Thank you, Marco. I
Take care,
really
everybody.
enjoyed being on your show. Thanks.
Thank you. I did too. I hope the audience did as well. I'm sure they did. So stay tuned for more.
BlackCloak provides concierge cybersecurity protection to corporate executives and high net worth individuals to protect against hacking, reputational loss, financial loss, and the impacts of a corporate data breach. Learn more at blackcloak.io.